Hello. I thought I'd do another one out here in Central Park while I'm here before I go downtown later today because it's nice and there's big open spaces and there's nice views. If you don't like the commentary, you can enjoy the view. I'm up here cat sitting for a friend, and my friend, she has many novels of Evan Hunter. I don't know exactly why she got into Evan Hunter, but I've been cat sitting for her and her husband for some years, and only like a couple of years started looking and saw that she had Evan Hunter books, and the first one that I read was last summer because last summer was a movie that really kind of moved me in my high school years. It was released right at the end of my high school time. It has people who ended up being pretty famous in it. Namely Barbara Hershey, who plays one of the girls, of course, and is like a teen at this point. Barbara Hershey was, I think, a child actor in some other things, but I'd never seen her before this movie, as well as Richard Thomas, who, of course, for people who've watched TV in the past 50 years, went on to be John Boy on The Waltons for many years. So last summer is about some teens who are having a summer at a beach. I think it's on Long Island or something setting. They go there for the summer, and it ends up being the kind of bullying thing that turns really horrible at the end. It's a very good book, and so I read that one and loved it. There's a sequel to last summer called Come Winter, and so anyway, I started getting into the Evan Hunter materials. I've read many of his books now, even a few of the other brand. Evan Hunter is a pen name. He grew up here in New York City. Italian derivation, Italian roots, and like many people who tried to make a career in the mainstream, changed his name a couple of times to Evan Hunter, and to write the more serious novels, and Ed McBain to write his very good series of crime fiction, of which there are like 200 of these or something. He was very prolific. He did not teach. Oh, I did a video showing the book that I'm talking about today. The book today is Second Ending, which is the second novel of Evan Hunter. The physical presence of this novel, Second Ending, 1956, by Evan Hunter, is rather nice. I'm glad I got to read this copy here at my friend's house. Actually, it would probably be almost impossible to find this book otherwise. I looked here and there, probably used one somewhere, but it's not very easy to find. In his biography, it says he tried painting in the beginning and got a scholarship to the Art Students League of New York, which is where I currently work as an art model quite often. So yeah, it's a second printing of the novel. I tried to look up how much novels cost in 1956, but I couldn't find that information. Apparently, it must have been, the price could have been down here in this corner, and it's been clipped off. But it's a pretty lovely $4.50 for the used book, I guess. Really kind of lovely consumer item to get back then. I don't know how much it cost, probably $5 or something like that. I don't know, maybe less, more. The pages are pretty thick, nice paper, feels nice, slick. It's not slick and slimy, it's not plasticky, it's like real paper. And the cover itself, it has the signature of the great author's signature, and it's cloth. It's not plastic. Well, sort of cardboardish, I guess. So yeah, and this is some sort of a fabric. Here it has a real texture to it, which I guess we can't really see, but it sort of has a glow to it, which might even glowed more gold. 55 years ago or whatever. I mean, it's what, 67 years old, this book. So yeah, Evan Hunter's second ending. There's a lovely picture of very young Evan. He was only 29 when this came out, and he was also starting to churn out the Ed McBain books because he was a real professional writer and made his career writing, and that's how he made his living. He didn't teach in the university, all that kind of thing that writers so often get stuck doing, whether they want to or not, I guess, because they need to make a living. A nice painting that evokes the novel, which is of course, a jazz musician, a trumpeter, and his spike, his syringe, which is going to, well, we'll find out what happens when we talk about more about the book. So, yeah, second ending by Evan Hunter, the author of The Blackboard Jungle. Good book. He made a big splash with The Blackboard Jungle, which is, a little bit about a short stint he had teaching, but it's like a juvenile delinquent teacher story. It's really about the teachers and the teachers fighting the system. Of course, it's turned into more of a juvenile delinquent movie with very big movie with Rock Around the Clock opening in the opening theme. So it's 1955. So it's all this rock and roll, blah blah blah. Anyway, it's teen actors or young youth actors who are in it, including Sidney Poitier and Vic Morrow, who is the father of Jennifer Jason Leigh and who died on the Twilight Zone movie in that horrible helicopter accident during this Vietnam segment of the Twilight Zone movie. So, and Glenn Ford playing the teacher. So second ending is the second novel, and it has all the trappings of a successful first novel. You get another chance to do what you want, and he did what he wanted in this really good novel of addiction among a group of young people in New York City. We start with them in it starts with an old friend, a girl. Okay, there's four main characters: Helen, Carol, Andy, and Bud. Bud's a student, has an apartment on 72nd Street. He's been in the war just at the end. He was in the service. I think the war was just ending when he went in. There are people who went in at the end of the war, if any of them did, like in 1944. So he's going to school on the GI Bill here in the early 50s, and he gets a call from one of the women, I think it was Carol, who asked him if he could put up Andy for a while, because Andy needs help, but he's in his home. And Andy is a heroin addict, and he's kicking. So they want him to stay with Bud instead of and his parents, because his parents are driving him crazy. So probably should have stayed with his parents. It all turned up, but so Bud kind of reluctantly takes him in, and he's studying for a big test tomorrow, but Andy's kind of a pain in the butt, and you know, just talks. He's kicking heroin. He's a week out, so he's still kind of buggy. I don't know if the timeline of addiction and withdrawal is all completely scientifically in a nice package in the book, because I don't really know that much about heroin addiction myself, because I've never had heroin, so I don't know about these hard drugs. I know a little bit about addiction and the issues around that, but not heroin. So, and Bud ends up failing the test. He goes out for a little bit down to the corner, and while he's out, Andy steals his suitcase and goes out and buys some smack. At the Union Hall, the Jazz Union Hall, he's trashed his career. He was kind of rising as a jazz trumpeter, and they were in a band together, Bud and Andy, in 1944. The novel goes back and forth from their origin story, when they're all buddies, creating this little jazz band, and what goes on with that, and how Andy enters the band, and he's a really good musician. He's better than the other guys, and so he's a valuable asset, and he becomes buddies with everybody else. He's portrayed as kind of shy, having a little hard time adjusting to everything. He's a little younger. They're all like 15 years old when they're making this band, like in 15, 16, 17, and they're making this band in 1944 during the war still. And it ends up falling apart, and we go through various stages of Andy's career and Bud's timeline, as well as the women involved. There's a couple of strange, was it a triangle or a square with the two women involved with these two men, and a really horrible thing goes on with Andy and one of the women. But she sticks by him later, so I don't know. That was a little bit sketchy, but I guess it worked. So the thing is, Evan Hunter, there's something about he's a really great writer. He knows how to tell a story and create a story structure. Earlier here I talked about Nelson Algren, and Nelson Algren's Chicago addiction book, which came out in 1949, about a few years before this, which could have been kind of I'm sure Evan Hunter had read it. That would be The Man with the Golden Arm. I have to say that second ending is kind of more relatable and felt a little bit more realistic than The Man with the Golden Arm. The Man with the Golden Arm does have a crime situation in it, which makes it a little bit it's very plotty in that way. So this one is not really so much like that. It's just about these people and this guy's addiction. And in a way, it's a more realistic take, and somehow even more empathetic take than that of Nelson Algren, because Nelson Algren is kind of a tourist in a way, looking at his characters who were definitely a little lower on the economic hopelessness spectrum than the characters in Second Ending. The Algren characters are, they're in a kind of a criminal situation. They're all kind of Polish in this Polish neighborhood, and in kind of a criminal, low-life criminal, hustlers, that kind of thing. And so it's more. It has more of a view of something over there, whereas the Evan Hunter books, it feels more real and really there with them. He has some things to say about addiction, even like marijuana. Marijuana being there's one paragraph where he talks about addiction and as a monkey, the metaphor for a monkey on your back, and Andy is thinking about the addiction being a gorilla on his back. He has a big addiction, and he refers to the little addictions like little pet monkey of reefer, marijuana, and marijuana is addicting to a certain degree to a lot of us, frankly, and I have to stay away from it because I can't stop once I start using it. And not that it's wrecked my life in the way that heroin would have, or alcohol would have, or cocaine would have, but it's been a factor that I had to work out of and overcome, and still am to a certain degree. So I know a little bit about addiction and the psychological and spiritual groundings, or lack of grounding, that brings one into that kind of environment. So as far as I was concerned, Second Ending rings very true with that sort of thing. It's interesting that the pivots of it's a New York novel, and interesting how you pick up little things like at one point somebody has to go on the subway, and it gets change at the booth, and puts a dime in the turnstile and goes through. I guess I knew there were coins in the 40s or whatever it was then, 40s, 50s, with that scene. As I said, it does go from the mid-40s into the mid-50s, sort of. So yeah, there was the thing about the subway, other things. I don't know. The music scene, everything was pivoting right then. This is really kind of a pre-rock and roll novel, even though it was right after the Blackboard Jungle movie was released. That is, partly attributed to is one of the factors in the popularization of rock and roll in the broad mainstream. In the Bill Haley and the Comets did the theme, rock around the clock tonight. So this is a jazz age novel. Big bands. They talk about the big bands. A lot of Stan Kenton. I thought I should listen to Stan Kenton and see what this. I didn't bother to listen to Stan Kenton. Maybe I still will, but So, you know, Stan Kenton was gone, you know. He was like the gone cat, and, you know, made the kind of jazz that Andy goes for, I guess, in this novel, as well as Dizzy. Dizzy's in it, and or mentioned. So it all wraps up quite nicely, I must admit. It's a really good book, and God, it had me in tears really at the end. It was so beautifully done, and you know, he's just great. I really recommend reading Evan Hunter. I don't know, you know, there's a video that I'm going to show you of the physicality of this book, or I already showed in this cut, but it was a beautiful novel, second edition from 1956, and you can see the quality of a book published by Simon and Schuster back then. So Evan Hunter, there are some other movies of Evan Hunter's work. One that's on YouTube that you might want to check out, that's a pretty good movie, is Strangers When We Meet, which stars, was it Kirk Douglas? I think it's Kirk Douglas. Kirk Douglas, and actually Kim Novak, who is just, you know, terrific in it. You ever notice that Kim Novak is in a lot of really good movies in the 50s and 60s? I mean, Kim Novak got, you know, wasn't just this sort of a dumb sex symbol blonde. Kim Novak's in some really great movies. I mean, she's in Middle of the Night with Frederick March, which is fantastic. Patty Chayefsky adaptation movie script. And really nice New York locations. Kim Novak is also in Picnic, which is great, a really great movie, very moving picture. I think my mother liked it. She mentioned Picnic. It was around 1960, so it's strange spotted bugs around here. Maybe I'll show you a close-up of one, like little black spotted black with white spot spiders. I hope. What is this one going to crawl on me? So Kim Novak is in this novel Strangers When We Meet, in this movie adaptation. I read the novel too, which is a little bit different, but they're both really good. It's a novel of suburban adultery, and just fine. So Kim Novak is a great actress, and I really admire her. She's still living, I believe. And here's to you, Kim. So second ending, you'll probably never find the book, maybe at a used bookstore. A lot of these books are not in print. I looked in Amazon, I looked at Apple Books. You can't even get ebooks of them. So I'm glad my friend still has a few more that I haven't read yet, including one about Lizzie Borden. I was thinking of reading that one this time, but I went for second ending instead, and I'm glad I did. So I think that's all I have to say about Evan Hunter right now, and second ending. If you get a chance to read it, I highly recommend it, especially if you're interested in addiction genres entertainment, which is actually one of my favorites. It's you know, I was mentioning to my aunt, my brother died of alcoholism, speaking of addiction, a year or so ago. And I was saying to my elderly aunt that when I was a kid, I went to the drive-in with my parents to see The Days of Wine and Roses. I was probably about 10 seeing this movie, and it's a really hardcore, scary movie about alcoholism with Lee Remick and another well-known male actor whose name I can't think of at the moment. But so I told my aunt, I think, seeing Days of Wine and Roses as a kid and seeing this horrible scenes of this alcohol, like he hides some alcohol in the greenhouse of his father-in-law's place where they're staying, and then he wants it some night and goes out and tries to look for it and tears the whole place apart, and then ends up in basically a nut house with a straitjacket on, talking to Jack Klugman, who I guess is the AA guy. But that kind of scared me straight when it came to alcohol. So anyway, a few comments on addiction and a few comments on second ending, and we'll talk to you later.